Visual Studio Code is a lightweight editor that works on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. It comes with built-in support for JavaScript, TypeScript, and Node.js, and has a rich ecosystem of extensions for other languages such as C++, C#, Java, Python, and many more. Today, I am going to demonstrate how you can use Visual Studio Code to create, edit, and debug your Python applications. Visual Studio Code available as a free download from the website code.visualstudio.com. You can visit this website and download the version that is right for your computer. I assume you already downloaded Visual Studio Code and installed in your computer. I am going to demonstrate how to enable Python scripting with Visual Studio Code. Now let us open Visual Studio Code. I am using Windows 11 and Visual Studio Code already installed in it. Let us open Visual Studio Code. In order to develop Python in Visual Studio Code, first thing you need to enable the Python extension for Visual Studio Code. So let me go to View menu, select Extensions. I can search Python in the extension list and you will see an extension developed by Microsoft for Python. Just select it. The extension details will be displayed in Visual Studio Code. You can go to the details, when it was released, what are the features, all these things, the change log, all these things will be visible. Just click on the install button and Python extension will be installed in few seconds. This depends on your internet connection. However, once installed, you will see the status. You can either disable it or uninstall from Visual Studio Code itself. So we are done with the Visual Studio extension. The next step, you need to install Python in your computer. So let us open the browser, visit python.org and go to downloads, and you will see the downloads for various versions such as Mac OS or Linux. Since I'm in Windows, let me install Python for Windows, the latest version 3.9.6, while I am recording this. It's a very small download. Just once it is downloaded, just open it. I'm happy with the default installation path, so I just click on with the default options. It may take a few seconds to install Python in your computer. Once it's installed, the successful message will appear, and you can just close this. Yes. Now let me close the browser. In order for you to verify whether Python installed correctly, you can follow two methods. One, open the command prompt and use the command py for Windows, Python for Linux. So just use the documentation and see the command reference. Since I installed version 3, I am using py-3 and let me see the version. Python is installed and the version is 3.9.6. So this is how you can test Python in a command prompt, or you can go to terminal in Visual Studio Code and use the command py-0. So it will display all the installed versions of Python, and the star next to the version denotes the default version, right? So my default version is 3.9.66. Now let me close the debugger. So the next thing is we need to select the interpreter to be used while I am developing Python in Visual Studio Code. So let us use Ctrl+Shift+P and run the command python select interpreter. It will ask if you have multiple versions of Python installed. It will ask you to select which version you want to use it in Visual Studio Code. So since I have only one version, it is showing in the list and I am happy with that. Now I am done with all the steps, all the necessary steps to develop my application in Python. So let me close this. Now let me create my first Python program. So I can either create it from the new file here or from the file new file. Since Visual Studio Code supports several languages, it will ask you to select a language. Just click on the select language button and you will see various types of languages Visual Studio Code support. So let me choose Python, and my Python script file is ready. As a best practice, you always save your file so that you will not lose any changes, any of your code changes you made. So let me go and save it. Just go to file and save, or use the Ctrl+S button. I recommend you to always create a folder for your programs, whatever. For example, this is I am developing for Python, so, or I am learning Python. That's good. So let me create a folder for my programs and I am writing it as hello world. So let us create the simplest Python program that prints hello world to the screen. Okay, so let me create a variable message msg that stores hello world and print the variable. Print is a built-in function in Python that prints the output to the console. That's fine. I just did the print. Now we are done with our Python program. Save it and just click run button in the top right corner of Visual Studio Code. So let me run it. Now the Visual Studio Code will use the interpreter selected in the previous step and run the Python script. As you can see, the message hello world is displayed in the terminal. Yes, it hardly took 5 minutes
to set up Visual Studio Code for Python development, and we are done with our first Python program. One of the important things you may need to do is to debug your program. When you develop your code, you want to step in through your code lines. So it is easy in Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio have out of the box support for debugging. Just click on the left side of your editor and it will set breakpoints. You can just disable or enable the breakpoints. You can set many breakpoints in your file. Once you set the breakpoint, click Run and Start Debugging, or click F5 button to start the debugging. It will ask you whether you want which module you want to debug. So since I want to debug the currently active Python file, I can just click on it. Now Visual Studio Code will execute the Python file and it will stop at the breakpoint. You can use the step in and step out controls to navigate through your code, or use keys like F10 to go to the next line. You may see the locals will display what are the variables in the context, so you can monitor what is your program is functioning as you intended to do. So you can just use these variables, and you can add watch. You can have watch, so you can add, for example, you want to monitor a particular variable, you can just add a watch to that. So for example, let me add an variable to I just added variable msg to the watch, so I can always see what's happening for this particular variable. So since our program is so simple, just it is executed and printed in the console. So basically, Visual Studio Code helps you to write Python scripts, execute them, debug them,